Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Cotunquit Chronicles, which has been broadcast and developed here in the island of Cotunquit in our studio. We acknowledge the custodians of the land where we are broadcasting from today, including the Narragansett Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I'm your host, James Allen, and I'm joined here most weeks, and this week by the extraordinary adventurer, extreme sport enthusiast, and all-around great gal, Ashlyn Komorick. Hello and welcome to the podcast, Cotunquit Chronicles. Tonight's episode is referred to as Knots Cinch Tight. Knots Cinch Tight. Not so easy to say, actually. Hey, did you note that I started out the wrong way with the wave, and then I went to the trumpet, and then I went to the wave?
You just like those waves so much that you played them twice?
I might play it again.
Did you hear a lot of waves with that storm that we had past couple of days?
You know, it's really, you don't hear the waves in the storm, but in the summertime you can hear the waves. Well, sometimes, yeah, you're right. Certain wind directions. The south wind, but this was all east. We were talking about weather now. This is east. Very unusual weather. Big kick out there in the ocean right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine fishing, Sean Bennett, and he was telling me that his fish traps and his fish, whatever they call those things, those nets that kill all the fish. He said that he can't even work. He hasn't been able to work for almost 10 days.
Because it's too rough.
Well, just the wind direction. It comes out of the east.
Yeah, and that storm just sat there. I met up with some friends from the Cape this weekend, and they had multiple. It was going on for days. Like we only had, one day of rain and a couple of days of wind. They had days and days of rain.
We were on the edge of that swirl, but it's just enough to mess up the fishing for sure. Yeah, A lot of people are intending on making their living now. This is the big month. This should be a big bluefish month. The bluefish that Sean catches, he was telling me that it's smoked. They smoked the bluefish. And, smoked bluefish used to be inexpensive. I tried to buy some the other day. It was like $17 a pound. Oh. And I changed my mind pretty quick.
Yeah, my buddy who came from the Cape had some smoked bluefish that he smoked himself.
Oh. Yeah, smoking stuff is good.
Mm-hmm.
I like smoked food anyway, so, I tried this, I've been eating much meat or almost none. And I was really yearning for a BLT, because that has bacon on it. So I decided to go and buy some smoked Gouda. Try this. Smoked Gouda, lettuce, tomato. You can put onion in there if you want, but that's not the BLT. Doesn't have one of the. That's not part of the acronym, right? But now it's really a GLT, right?
Yeah.
Great little.
I know another BLT, which is actually a BLT, but not bacon. And I haven't tried this, but I've seen it. You use banana skins.
Banana skins?
And you basically you use some of that liquid smoke, and you bake them in the oven, and they turn out crispy like bacon, and they taste like bacon. Or so they say.
Wow. That's stepping up right there. Using the banana skins. I like the idea of using the banana skins.
Yeah, otherwise they're just in the compost.
Yeah. We've been doing great with our compost this year. We have the service, do
you use, what is it, Black Earth or something like that?
Yeah. That's been working out. I like that because I'm very devoted to it. And then the thing is, we only get one little bag of earth at the end of it all. However, I do sneak some of the compost into my own compost pile for my various plant matters. So I was also, this time of year is bummer time because, like, I had to break down the pool. You know, they just don't get the sunlight to heat the pool.
So it's cold.
Yeah. Eva likes it like 90 degrees or she's not going in.
Does she swim in it or just float in it?
She's a floater, but there's no real swimming. How are you going to swim 3 strokes? It's 18 feet wide.
Yeah.
So it's about 5 feet deep. And, but it's a lot of work to pull it apart and put it down and then bring it into the cellar, which I haven't gotten to that far yet. I just got the water out of it.
What'd you do with the water?
Oh, I put it into the earth. It's fine. It's fine. I think maybe
didn't cause a bit of a flood in the yard.
There's so little rain. We've had so little rain, even though we've had the storm. There wasn't much rain with it. That the ground is just very receptive. And of course, the skunks have taken out all those little bugs in the yard, and they've just torn the yard up. So
the grubs, yeah.
This is actually, it's about 10,000 gallons of water. So,
do you hire somebody to fill it?
Yes, of course. Yeah, can't.
Oh, because it would cost you a fortune in town to fill that.
And it's not right. You can't do that to the folks in town because the water is the only thing. It's one of the most. Well, it's critical to everybody, but in this town, it's a very limited resource, as we've talked about many times. Hey, I went to Hudson, New York met my kids there, and Eve and I went out to we rented a house, and we did a lot of hiking with the 2 daughters, and oh boy, I've just discovered just how out of shape I am. So I'm devoted to changing that.
Where is Hudson in relation to the Tappan Zee Bridge?
Oh, far north.
It
180 miles.
Wow.
Something like that. So we were up there, and we decided that one of the walks was going to be down to this. It's a waterfall, and you get to view it from above. And you look down, and you're like, wow, that's a long way down. And the mile, it's 1.7 miles. You think, hike 1.7 miles, no problem. And then as I'm going down, I'm realizing, I'm watching some of the other people coming back up.
Oh, that you have to come back up again.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little sick thinking about it. And it's straight down. And there were hundreds of people doing the same thing we were. So we get down to the bottom, and that's the downhill part, and enjoyed the whole waterfall and everything. We were going to go swimming, but it just wasn't quite right, the setting. There was a lot of, it looked like bachelorettes that might be all together, and they're going up there to swim.
To take photos.
To prove that they did something together before she got married. And then, and there were other people, too. So it just didn't feel right going up there to go swimming. And then we felt the water, of course, and the water's temperature was so really, really low. So we said we weren't going to do that, and I think that was a good choice. But then I just realized I've got to lose some weight, and I've got to go up this hill. And I can't lose the weight in advance of going up this hill,
Unless you stayed there for a week without anything to eat.
Without anything to eat. I really do have to work on that. So I realized just how unfit I am. I need to.
So pickleball hasn't been keeping you in shape.
It's not keeping me. It keeps my core strong, and it keeps me. I think my reactions are stronger, and I haven't been playing pickleball lately because of some injuries. So playing a lot of golf though. Hey, low scores again on the golf. Whoa, way down. I don't know what's happened to me. I'm just hitting lights out, making the putts and everything. It's been great. So anyway, we got down there. We made it back up the hill, but I really had to stop a number of times. I was shocked. You would have just run up there. Both of my kids were almost running up the steps, However, and Eva did great. She was right in front of me, and she just did the whole thing. But it was my turn to be the one that had the issues trying to do something. So I'm going to have to fix that. Then we did some apple picking. A lot of fun.
Nice.
Good time. At this really lovely place. And then we went to Art Omi. Are you familiar with this place?
No.
It's a town called Omi. And they have these giant sculpture installations throughout the property. It's 150 acres of property. Beautiful sculptures that really were very, very powerful experience that was for my daughters too, and then they were in the mid-20s and they've always appreciated art, but I think this caught their attention in every respect because it was interactive too. At one point, there's this giant, looks like a tree. It's made of metal, and it had basketball hoops, and there's basketballs. So we were throwing the basketballs up into this tree. Very fun. And then we played games each night. It was that was the cool thing to be.
So you were kind of disconnected.
Yeah, well, no, not really. It wasn't like your disconnect. However, I did feel like those games and playing the games brought me right back to when they were kids, and it just was very pleasant. I enjoyed my time with each of my daughters individually and then collectively, and my wife, Eva, loves being with them. So we did a lot more shopping than I would have even considered doing, but that's part of the gig. We did have some nice meals. Oh, but very pretentious food in Hudson.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, come on. We ordered a couple of entrees. No, what do they call those? Appetizers?
Mm-hmm.
And there was like three little pieces of, I don't know, zucchini on the plate. Come on. It was like a third of a piece of zucchini. I don't know what it was.
You were wanting like the full plate of nachos volume.
Yeah, not that much, but, because again, I prefer not to gain all the weight, but there wasn't enough for 2 bites. It's for $18, so that kind of thing. Oh, I had this pasta dish that had the special mushrooms that are foraged.
Mm-hmm.
They show you the woman with the foraged on the internet, so I was all excited to get this. And I got the meal, and there was about, I think I counted this, there was 9 homemade pastas, 9 pieces.
Were they raviolis?
Delicious. No, they were just like noodles.
9 noodles, okay.
9 noodles, and this sauce that they made from the thing. But there was no discernible mushroom in it whatsoever. It tasted cheesy. And then they had these crunchy pieces of the mushroom that were actually fried. It tasted fine. 2 bites. 3 to clean up.
So this was a small plate establishment.
$29 later to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, please. Well, I do have some things I need to tell our audience. Will Simmons, Will, he's down on, what's the name of that street? Jackson? Yeah, Jackson Street. Will Simmons, he lost his wallet. He wanted everybody to know that.
What do we do if we find it? Police department?
He didn't say. He said take a $5 and drop it.
Return the rest.
Also, Grayson Terralt's lost dog. He lost a dog north of Bangor, Maine, near Lobster Pond. Okay, so how many miles is that? That's got to be 380 miles. Well, he was on vacation recently. Mm-hmm. All right. He figured the dog's lost. The dog walked all the way to New Bedford and was found.
I'm going to say bullshit.
No, true story. True story. New Bedford. Walked to New Bedford. His tags, he had the tags on and everything.
How do you know somebody didn't find him, looked at the tags.
And brought him to New Bedford? Why wouldn't he bring him to Katunkwit?
Because Katunkwin is in Rhode Island and nobody knows where Rhode Island is. So they were like, well, I'm heading south. It's somewhere near New Bedford. And
Well,
I'm
the
just
dog
going to.
lost all the weight. Maybe that's what I should do, is walk home from Bangor. Frank Fiera caught a 68-inch striped bass. Wanted everybody to know that.
But he had to release it.
Yeah. It wasn't in the slot.
Yeah, somebody was talking to me about that the other day, about how the slot was so narrow. He's like, yeah, it was about an inch too long, so I just cut the tip of the tail off.
Yeah, that's probably what you might have to do in certain circumstances, because the likelihood that you're ever going to catch a 68-inch striped bass, think about how big that is. It's over 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. I saw a picture, so.
Yep.
There's a new owner of the former Dead Mist restaurant, reports that they will be open for business coming Thanksgiving.
Really?
Nice choice, huh? The poor bastard doesn't know the place will be deserted by then.
I don't know. We can just put a big sign up in Newport, because Newport's season just keeps getting extended.
Well, there's truth in that. Boy, I used to really, this is when we would go to Newport.
By this time of year, you could eat in any restaurant in town. And now if you go down like America's Cup, it's still swarming with tourists. And, the cruise ships.
Oh.
Like 2 cruise ships at once. We calculated that was like 20% of the entire population of Newport. But the population that's downtown, that's probably another 100% of what's actually downtown, because the rest of Newport's scattered all over the city, right?
The T-shirts and sweatshirts went big time.
Probably. Yeah. That, and I don't know, maybe they probably...
They don't eat there. They don't eat on the land.
They might get drinks, though, or ice cream.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's not a big spend.
It's trinket stuff, right?
Yeah. Pictures, trinkets. So that's going on. Bart Stortle's youngest son, Bruce. You know Bart?
I know of Bart.
Okay. He went off to military boarding school. Word is he's the only freshman, but he's captaining the sailing team's lead boat.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
When do you have time, though, if you're at military boarding school, to do any sailing?
I don't know. I used to threaten my daughter that I was going to send her to the Swiss military convent.
Oh.
They didn't have a sailing team, but they were going to teach her how to be
a convent person. To be more, what?
How to be a...
I like her just the way she is. She's
good
fine.
wife of Jesus, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the right thing. Been some east winds of late. We talked a lot about that, haven't we? And the McCown apples. I
was going to ask you, when you were at the apple picking place up in New York, what kind of apples did they have?
They're ahead of us. Pardon me. They have McCowns. And as of a week ago, here in Rhode Island, specifically in Johnston at Jaswell's, they didn't have McCowns, and they said there would be 2 weeks. So there's about a 2-week difference in upstate Western
So you're a
New York.
Jaswell's person.
I like Jaswell's.
I like to go to Barden.
Barden's good. I do think it's really outrageous to some of the prices. And this place up in Hudson was very inexpensive. But the pricing over across the bay there in Middletown, sweet one. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah, they're pretty expensive.
I think this part of it's an experience that they're going for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I wanted to play some trumpets. was getting very good and impeccable with that. So, dovetail right in there. Trumpets right into the waves. You get that?
Yeah.
All right, so people have been asking for the BS bit. And I have a story. I know you don't have one for this time, but we'll get you another time. And I wanted to ask you whether this is BS, whether you believe this is BS or not. But when I was a child, I lived next door to this rather eccentric man, tall, interesting, a professor at RISD, who had an interest in flight and was a pilot. And he would fly insanely low over his own house, which was essentially over my house as well, because we were side by each. So we occasionally we just get buzz bombed by this dude, right? And he decided that he would build a garage, and my father actually helped him with the garage. So therefore, if my father did anything, I was right there with him. And so I was helping build this garage in order to build an airplane inside his garage. And I would go over 2 or 3 nights a week. I might have been 10 years old. And I would help him with this plane. And I was mostly sanding, which is not a fun thing to do. But I stuck it out. And he said all along that he would give me a ride in the plane if, I helped him build it to fruition. And I don't know why my parents let me do this, right? Because I spent an inordinate amount of time sanding. And sure enough, he brought me to this place up in the northern part of the state, Scituate, I believe, the North Airport. And he introduced me to this man. His name was Sabby Sabatini. I believe that was his name. And I got this crash course on how to fly an airplane. He must have made some sort of special arrangement with this man. And Sabatini brings me up in the airplane. I'm 10 years old. And he took off, but there was 2 sets of steering mechanisms. And he's telling me all about what makes it higher or lower and all this stuff. And I didn't learn anything, by the way, in the previous things. I knew nothing. And he said, well, it's time to land. You're going to land the plane. And I landed this plane with this guy on the first try. It was not a good landing, though. It was very bumpy and bounced it, and I thought it was going to do one of these tumble over things. But, and the man did take over the reins at a certain point. But it wasn't until we were on the ground that he did. Is it bullshit? Or not?
I'm going to say that's true.
That is absolutely true.
Now, of course, our listeners can't see you when you're telling this story. So I was looking at you, your eyes reflecting on the experience. So
that's actually my eyes right now are they're very, very foggy because I took the COVID, and I encourage everyone to get the COVID shot that's able to get it and not allergic to it or whatever. And I also got the flu shot. So I'm a little under the weather. That always affect me much more than anyone else. And Eva's always giving me a hard time about it, too, because
it doesn't affect her.
Not at all. I mean, she has the constitution of she must have a wonderful immune system, because mine's a bit compromised. It's probably all that sanding I did when I was 10. So, we're going to stop right there. Go here. This week we're sponsored, and this production is brought to you by none other than Sense of Sweet Chocolate and Wine Shop, located on Long Wharf near You Doesn't Have to Call Me Johnson's Ice Cream Shop. That's a great name. You doesn't have to call me Johnson's Ice Cream Shop. So it's right near there, the Sense of Sweet Chocolate and Wine Shop. Come to Sense of Sweet Chocolate and Wine Shop, where we get off on the senses. I'm getting off. Could you please be more clear about what they mean by that? Perhaps you could comment on that, Dr. Komarek.
Well, some people, really like the smell. I guess do they have wine tastings?
What's it for you? Like, is it beer and sweat that does it for you?
No.
Ketunkwit Trinkets and Thrills. We offer a full array of found objects. If you're too lazy to walk the beaches and pick up relatively useless stuff, we are the store for you. Our found objects are unique. Never mass-produced, and hold the salty smell to remind you of the beach. No guarantees and no refunds. Seems we have a little buzzing here that we need to address. I think that took care of it. So that was that. Well, let's go back to that. I'm going to make sure that they get their just desserts. Ketunkwit Trinkets and Thrills. We offer a full array of found objects. If you're too lazy to walk the beaches or pick up relatively useless stuff, we're the store for you. Our found objects are unique, never mass-produced, and hold a salty smell to remind you of the beach. No guarantees, no refunds. And then there's Mike's Pot Shop. At Mike's Pot Shop, we sell pots. We sell pots. Glazed and ready for use, we offer a full array of Elliot's pot pipes, too, for the other kind of pot. You know Elliot?
No.
Cool young man. Extra cool. He makes pot pipes. And I'm talking about very unusually well-crafted pot pipes from glass. So come in and try out a new glazed pot, or try out one of Elliot's favorite offerings. You can watch the potter's wheel turn and the clay fly at Mike's Pot Shop.
So he's making it right there in the shop.
He is. As is Elliot.
So they've got a glass blowing thing and
yes. A lot of heat.
Yeah.
Home Growers Consortium would like to make you aware of their upcoming meeting on Thursday, October 10th at the Union Hall. October's meeting topic is how to harvest big buds, when to harvest, when to stop trimming, and should one fertilize late in the season. Not in that order, of course. We never go by any particular agenda. I wonder why. The Home Growers Consortium. And they didn't list any time. So you can come anytime any time on October 10th. Any time of day, apparently. They're going to have this meeting at the Union Hall.
It's a long meeting.
Pardon me. So I thought maybe you would introduce the next segment, which
is the last segment,
right? It's
the
last segment. I had a hard time letting go of these characters. Sometimes I fall in love with the characters a little bit. And if you remember, which you do, we were supposed to only have 3 of these segments. But it turns out now that we are in the 4th segment, and that's the final segment.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, segment 3, our main character there, Stuart, let's see, he had run off to the Ketunkwit Cafe to avoid any further conversation with Shimon. And while he was there, he realized it was getting really hot. and that his oysters, which he had flipped upside down so that all the seaweed and stuff would dry up, right? His oysters were exposed to the heat and not sitting in the cool bay.
He was going to go to the cafe, and he turned around, right, if you remember?
Yeah, once he started
he went on his
thinking of the
boat
temperature
and
that he had to go out and check.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. And then when he was out there and the temperature just kept increasing, he realized he was the only oyster farmer who was out there turning their
Right.
cages.
The cages. The floating cages.
And this is the part where I got a little upset with the story last week. He decided that that was going to be a big money-making opportunity for him, and he wasn't going to call anybody else and say, hey, your oysters are, dying in the heat out here.
Mm-hmm.
So he just
walked
away and decided that he was going to make a killing.
I understand your concern about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just about the money, though, if you remember. It was about the other farmers.
Well, okay, so he didn't like some of them. That's true.
Well, they didn't treat him properly either.
It's revenge at the expense of other living creatures. It's wasteful. I don't know. I didn't like it. Anyway, that's what he chose to do. Ran back home, came up with a plan with Shimon, and then went down because he's going to need some hands to help him harvest all those oysters. Ran back to the Katunkwit Cafe to find some guys to help him out, but they were all off. What were they fishing for? Scallops or something?
And also squid.
And squid. So they were all off, and lo and behold, the only fisher person hanging out at the Katunkwit Cafe was
Maisie Templeton.
Right.
And
he wrestled a little bit about whether he should ask her or not, and what was Shimon going to say, but Maisie offered to do it, and I mean, what choice did he have?
She said she'd be there at 4:30.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we left it, right?
I think so. Would it be okay if I took a quick break?
It would be perfectly okay.
Duty call.
You know the way?
I'm just going right across the street.
Across the street, or are you going into the bathroom?
The boys' room.
Yeah. Go.
I am back, and I'm prepared to read The Ties That Bind 4. The lights flicker in Shimon's bedroom. Stuart can see the light from the TV. She's probably left the TV on, Stuart surmises. He'd been working in the yard, gathering coolers from the neighbors and making sure his ice machine is in working order. Stuart needs 9 perfect innings, so to speak, and everything working correctly. He lashes it all to the truck with special camping knots that cinch it up tight. He extends an electrical cord from the porch outlet on the hose, running from the bed of the truck to the ice machine, and starts the machine. He'd have to remember, it's attached in the early morning hours before first light. He writes, "Remember cord," on the back of his hand in pen ink, and stars it twice. Stuart enters the house, goes to the kitchen, reaches for the electric kettle, and boils some water for herbal tea. He wonders if Maisie's still at the cafe knocking down White Russians. He wonders what she meant when he spoke to her at the table. Most of all, he wonders if she'll get up in the morning. I need her help tomorrow, he thinks. It took 2 hours of convincing Shimon earlier that nothing was going to happen between him and Maisie, and that he needed Maisie's help and Shimon's blessing. He isn't sure if he was being honest. He's not sure of anything. Never has been. What did Maisie mean when I said to her, "That'd keep me up all night"? And she said, "Sounds good to me." He ponders her words to the point where he could feel his temples pounding and his ears getting hot. Why'd she want anything to do with me? She's maybe 15, 16 years younger than me. It's just stupid. Who are you talking to? Shimon emerges at the top of the stairwell, dressed in a chiffon silk nightie, her hair a mess but still pretty, even though astray. Her boobs sag beneath her shimmering nightie. Stuart's distracted and in his far place, the place that he calls a meditative state, but Shimon refers to it as La La Land. I'm not talking to anyone. Just go over a list of things to do. I have a lot ahead of me. Eastern Seafood's counting on us, as you know. Mumble a little louder, would you? Shimon shouts too loudly for the time of day. You'll wake the neighbors, for Christ's sake, Stuart returns. I can never hear you. You're the only one. Nobody at the farm has any problem communicating with me, Shimon responds like a lawyer. Half of communication involves listening, Stuart points out. Mumbling sucks. Have some fucking conviction in what it is that you're saying. She continues making her point. Maybe I lost my mojo, Stuart admits. Find it. Find it now, Shimon says while she walks down the steps and stands behind Stuart, who's seated at the kitchen table. She rubs between his shoulders and his neck, where all Stuart's tension builds. She hadn't rubbed his neck in a long time, maybe months, maybe almost a year. Maybe when his father died. That was probably the last time. Of course, on the other side of it, he hadn't rubbed her aching feet after working at the farm either. Processing 300,000 oysters in 4 days is a lot, even with help. It will be a massive challenge. Stuart says loud enough for Shimon to hear, twisting his head and facing her and using his power voice, the one he employs at karaoke at the Katunkwit Cafe on Thursday nights when he's introducing a song. You see, was that so difficult? She asks. No, but I'm not always talking to you when you can't hear. You should get your hearing checked. And when they tell me I need hearing aids, who's going to pay $5,000? Are you forgetting that we don't have health insurance? You can buy a lot of insurance with $300,000, Stuart responds quickly and loudly. Never count your oysters until they're on the truck and headed to New York City. Even then, until the check cashes, Shimon states. Nothing's truer than that. You're going to come to bed or you just stay up for 4 days, Shimon asks. I tracked some mud into the kitchen. I'm going to wash the floor. Then I'm going up. Shimon stops rubbing his shoulders and backs away, then circles the table to look Stuart in the eye from across the round table. You can do this, Stuart. Don't let anything fuck it up. I have to work tomorrow, early, so I have to go to bed. You know that I'd be there helping if I didn't have to work. You know that, right? Tears emerge from Shimon's eyes and well on her ample cheeks. You're crying. Don't cry. It's going to be fine. I changed the oil in the bowl, the filters, everything. You just gotta get to the finish line. That's all it is, Stuart says as he rounds the table, approaching Shimon and reaching out to wipe away her tears. She wipes the tears from her face with both hands and rubs them back into her curls before he can help. I'm worried. I just don't know, Shimon says while shaking her head. What? Long days with Maisie Templeton, that's what. I know you like her. Tears appear again. Stuart moves closer and she backs away toward the kitchen. He's shaking his head too, but his mind feels that he should be nodding. He finishes shaking his head and begins nodding, and he wishes he wasn't nodding, but he really can't stop. It's true. You do like her. But I love you. I like her. Who wouldn't? Stewart says, while nodding, as if he were a bobble-headed doll in the back seat of an old car. Is it over for us? I mean, it might as well be. We've got nothing left. TV shows, dinners, favorite food, Scrabble, and I watch you sing on Thursday nights. I mean, it's not enough, Shimon says, as her hands try to stop a rush of tears. It's more than that. Come on. Not really, Shimon says, while straightening her back, her chin lifting, as if a burden's been lifted. Then why do you stay with me? He asks. The two F's, she says. What are the two F's? Fucking and fucking? He laughs inappropriately as he speaks. Fear, you fucking moron, and familiarity, and fear of the unfamiliar. You still have your looks. I mean, Maisie Templeton would move in here in half a second, and if I moved out, wouldn't she? Admit it. Well, you already did, didn't you? Fucking bobble-headed motherfucker. You said you like her. You said you like her. Shimon isn't crying anymore, and Stewart notices. That's ridiculous, Stewart says immediately, then wishes he hadn't. So, you can add dismissing my feelings to the list of things you do that piss me off. Don't try to make everything right all the time, Stewart. Sometimes I just want to vent, for Christ's sake. Shimon raises both hands above her head and drops them fast, slamming them against the door casing. Don't clean the floor. Get some sleep. You're gonna need it. Working all day with Maisie Templeton, she'll run your old ass around the deck all day, tire you out before she... Give me a little fucking credit, will you? I'm not gonna do anything but move oysters. Who knows, she may not show up. Stewart reasons. You don't have any credit, Shimon says. Not that again. I'm not talking banks, you idiot. You think I haven't forgotten 5 years ago when you came home a day late from an offshore trip? I called you on the satellite phone while you were aboard, said you'd be home by Tuesday. That was Saturday, and you came home maybe two days later on a Thursday. No call, nothing. Maybe you had a day, maybe two with her. I don't know. I'll never know. I told you 100 times. The captain got into a pile of butterfish on a tow right after you called, changed his mind, and we worked 3 days straight. Why don't you believe me? Because you came home drunk, and you didn't smell like any fishing boat I ever smelled, Shimon reasons. Sure, we had a huge haul. We got it all in cash, remember? So we cleaned up and hit the bars in New Bedford. What's wrong with that? I mean, I'm a guy still. What the fuck does that mean? It means that after 2 weeks of fishing, fishermen go out and drink. That's all, Stewart says defensively. I haven't seen you in 2 weeks, and you go to a bar with smelly fishermen and not home to me. We all washed up on board. There's showers, Stewart says. Not the fucking point, Stewart. You suck. Shimon shouts while running upstairs. Stewart can hear her trashing her bedroom. He drinks a sip of tea and sits back at the table, peering down the clumps of dirt on the floor. Gets a paper towel, wets it, gets down on all fours and cleans up the mess. Shimon emerges on the landing, suitcase in hand. Where are you going? Stewart asks. Wherever. That's not a place, Stewart says. I'm going to Rachel's. See if she wants to go out at the bar tonight. Maybe she'll let me sleep on the spare. Stay here. This is your house. This is where you belong, Shimon. Come on. Don't do this now, Stewart responds. Now? Why not now? Because we're almost there. I mean, tomorrow's haul and 3 more days, and we'll be okay. I'm like out of debt. We can get a new set of oysters, some seed, and we'll be ahead. Money in the bank, you know? You think money's going to change what we got going on here? You're more stupid than I thought. Your emotional IQ is like that of a 10-year-old. Jeez, Stu. When I walk out, that's it. There's no more any of this for me. I'll be gone. We don't do anything. We remortgage this fucking house so many times to buy gear or motors or whatever to fill your fucking dream, to build you up, to prove something to my family, and I fed you and believed in you and helped you because you know why, Stuart? Because you were passionate about it and I wanted us to be something, to be as somebodies in this stupid town. My life was good, Stuart, remember? You said you'd be different, and you were, and now you're just like every other goddamn fisherman, farmer, whatever the fuck you do. Shimon finishes and takes a look back at Stuart, lifts her chin with her head held high, and she slams the door shut. Quiet enters the house, and Stuart lifts the last bits of dirt from the floor, moves to the sink, and pulls another paper towel from the roll to finish the job, then decides to clean all the floors in the house. He changes the vacuum bag first, vacuums the entire house, cleans the wooden floors with Murphy's oil soap, and the ceramic floors with Mr. Clean. By the time he finishes dusting and the leftover dishes in the sink, it's 3:30. So he dresses for a day's work, eats an English muffin with peanut butter, slams down a pint of black coffee, exits the house, puts his boots on by the back door, and starts his truck. The back of his hand reads, "Remember cord." So he exits the truck and pulls the ice machine cord from the back of the truck and drives hurriedly on the dark and empty streets to the dock. He jumps from the truck and hears, "Need a hand with that, Cap?" Macy's voice comes through the early morning thick air, like soft and quiet-like, efficient, respectful. You could see her hair emerging from the Carhartt cap, seeking to escape like silken strands from August corn cobs. Her voice barely can be heard above the caw-caw, caw-caw, caw of seagulls tearing at a striped bass carcass on the dock. Maisie lifts 2 empty coolers and moves towards the boat, calling back to Stuart, untying lines attached to the bed of his pickup truck. "Permission to go aboard?" Maisie asks. "Permission granted," Stuart responds. The Ties That Bind 4. And that's the end of that series.
Leaves a lot to the imagination. Yeah. Being married is a lot of work.
Yeah. Yes, it does require a lot of attention. And communication.
Yeah, I don't know if Shimon was a bit harsh with him, but we don't really have the full history. Like, she alludes to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, before that, I thought she's being pretty harsh, but he is a wishy-washy kind of guy.
What are the ties that bind? And this particular episode is about cinching, right? And knots that cinch.
So you feel like he's being suffocated by Shimon.
And perhaps, you know how when you're untying something, you have to break the back of the knot.
Mm-hmm.
I think Maisie helps him break the back of the knot.
So he's freeing himself from the
cinch,
ball and chain that is.
Oh, that's too wrong. No, Shimon's not. Shimon's saving herself, quite rightly. And What did he say what did she say they do? This is a list of things that they do.
Yeah. But I mean, if
Like every couple, right?
yeah, every couple who's been married as long as these guys have been married, you have this sort of routine of things, and yeah, of course you want it to be more exciting, but
Mm.
you just kind of get into this rut of the things that you do.
And then there's this idea that they're in a rut, but he has more responsibility for that rut, given his passion for this endeavor, right? And he's oftentimes failing. The only
Yeah.
reason he's going to have any success is because of a occurrence, this heat
This
occurrence.
little bit of luck, fluke thing where other people weren't paying attention to the weather.
Right.
Yeah, it does give you a lot to think about.
Good. That was my intention. So I guess
And Maisie could be just, I think didn't we talk about this in the past? Like, she may not really have any designs on him. She just being nice to him, and he's the kind of guy that a girl's nice to him and he thinks there's something more there.
Exactly. And she does allude to the idea of spending the night together, right?
Yeah, but she might have been like just for the excitement of like working on this project and fishing overnight, and and he's a good companion for that. It might have nothing further. There might be no other motive for her, which is probably the case.
How does this make you feel as full disclosure, a woman over 40? You are a woman over 40, right?
I am a woman over 40. How does this make me feel as a woman over 40?
Who do you relate to? Stuart, Shimon, or Maisie? There's only 3 characters.
Well, it's at times I certain things that Shimon says, and I was thinking, oh yeah, that could be me.
It's a tough question.
Maisie, yeah, a little bit. She's having her own adventure, which is pretty cool. Stuart,
she's an amazing woman, right?
Not so much Stuart. Yeah, ever since he sacrificed the oysters, I'm down on Stuart.
That's it. Okay, so really, this is a story about dead oysters. Yeah, this is the whole meaning behind it was to save the oysters, but we didn't. We failed. The marriage, I could just. Do you think they get together again, Shimon and?
That's
Stuart?
a really good question. I mean, it sounds like probably yes, because nothing's going to happen between Stuart and Maisie. So he's going to try to get her back. And if he does get all this money and kind of rights their financial situation, it's quite likely that they'd get back together again.
There is something there.
Yeah, I mean, at one point it seemed to be going really well, and then it went right off the rails.
Yeah, it's a tenuous situation, right? Between these two. I think Stuart's indifferent, right? His indifference is what the problem is. And it's really, like in this situation, he's just like hyper-focusing, right? Because he has this mission to get the 300,000 oysters in to the boat, which is...
Right, but the cleaning of the house thing is a bit weird. That's like him trying to just avoid something.
Yeah. Boy, you got that. That's right.
Right, because obviously the intelligent thing would be to get as much sleep as possible because you're going to be working hard for the next 3 days.
Well, that's logical. However, the idea that you hit something really important here. I think that it's essential to the story, and that is that instead of addressing the most important issues with his wife, he is hyper-focusing again on the cleaning of the house. It's his place to meditate or go into, as she referred to, La La Land. So there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story. So we tried this series, and I hope the audience likes it. If you did like it, please contact us at katunkwitchronicles@gmail.com. And let us know if you didn't like it, too. We can certainly change the format if we need to. But we haven't heard any poems for a long time, prose poems. Maybe I'll put together a prose poem for our next show. And we have some guests that are in the wings. They're getting ready to join us in the future. So looking forward to that. Any stories for me you want to express?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, good. All right. So this is a little different. We're going to finish up with this tonight. We'd like to thank the URI Launch Center at the University of Rhode Island for their assistance with post-production and engineering relative to this podcast, and to the cadre of student volunteers. Well, actually, they're paid. They're graduate students, and they're paid, assisting Katunkwit Chronicles with promotion. And we'll get those names out there if they choose to have their names expressed on this show.
Yeah, excellent. They've been doing a great job.
Yeah. So I think we're going to have a wrap. You want to get a beer down at the cafe?
Sure.
All right.
My steward's out playing mini golf.
Oh, that's a great game. He didn't call me.
Yeah, it's some company thing.
Over in Middletown?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's fun. Lucky putts. Lucky putts.
All right. Yeah, let's go grab a beer.
Okay.